Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate. Yes, Christ is King. Amen. And I do have to start this off with a pretty sad piece. I caught this literally just before I went live. It is being reported that the late Vadi Bacham has passed away due to an emergency medical situation. I didn't see what it was in particular, but I did see there was a Facebook post from Vadi Bacham Ministries outlining that. I also got a text from my father actually right before that too. So prayers up for Mr. Vadi Bacham. Prayers out to his family and also everybody involved and around them. Obviously, that's to lose somebody like that, particularly with as good as he was in terms of combating some of the black culture, as being inside that element. That's a pretty big loss for that community. So, prayers up to him. And nice seeing you guys in here as well. Beatitudes, NPC 123, Donnybrook is here. Geo is here. We have a good bit to get into. Going to be largely reactive today. I'd spent most of my time making the video earlier covering the reinstatement of Nick and Alex Jones, only for them to be immediately eliminated in a few hours. Ultimately, it wasn't for them to be reinstated, but hopefully we can keep the pressure up there and that they can ultimately be put back on YouTube. It is scary, though. If you didn't watch the video, I think it's scary on the end of it still kind of puts them in a on the fence issue. And I think for a lot of people who maybe are on my side, it's a little alarming because maybe they will come down and, crash it out. But some cool stuff, though. Alex Jones is rocking the Hitler stash. We'll get into that if you didn't catch the thumbnail photo. Obviously, they were, banned, reinstated on YouTube. We have NASA may actually nuke an asteroid. Or I don't know if they know it's an asteroid, but apparently they're floating the idea out there that they might possibly nuke a city-killing asteroid, is what they're calling it. We have Trump giving a harsh kind of pushback on the annexation of the West Bank from Israel. We'll get into that. Obviously, the big thing, which is the possibility of war, which is, I don't know. I'm kind of halfway between nothing ever happens and the timeline does seem a little bit shaky, so who knows? But I was first privy to it when they had posted an announcement, basically that Pete Hegseth was calling essentially like an emergency meeting, calling everybody in a matter of like 24, 48 hours. I believe that's supposed to be happening very, very soon in Virginia. But at the same time, geopolitical tensions are also rising. There's other countries, I believe it's in Moldova. Is that the right word? The right name, and a few other countries as well have actually been mobilizing and conscripting. But the alarming aspect is the fact that it seems that NATO and the EU have declared war on Russia through Ukraine. At least that's what's being reported right now. We'll get into that. And again, largely reactive. This is just basically what I'm kind of seeing as I've begun looking at the timeline, since I kind of had like a 7-hour break of making that video, which took me way too long, to be honest. We have more of this gay AIDS drama. There seems to be a rising class of like PragerU elites. They're not really Daily Wire pundits, but they're somewhere halfway in between. Looks like, Misfit Patriot, Xavier DeRousseau, Emily Saves America, and a few others. Just a bunch of Israel glazing homosexuals and degenerate whores, to be quite honest with you. And I say this to not be offensive or be rude. I mean, this is literally who they are and what they are. And so you have to kind of look at that and you go, we are a conservative movement. We are Christian, and they are everything but. Peter Thiel had a bit more to say about the Antichrist stuff, which we can look into that a little bit as well. There's also a clip floating around from Amy Dangerfield, and her co-host is some random guy. I can never remember what his name is. They basically gave a glazing review of Nick Fuentes, and I believe she is affiliated with the Patrick Bet David Network. Not PBD particularly, but probably just Valuetainment on some level. That entire show probably is. I probably need to have a better handle of some of these individuals too, to be quite honest with you. Because sometimes I see like, hey, this person said this thing about Nick. I'm like, who is this person? I have no idea who this woman is. And to be fair, I don't think you should be listening to women anyways, especially on politics. If you find yourself as a man and you're like, here's this incoming war, and like, I need to go listen to like, I need to get in the know about war. Let me go listen to Ali Bethy Stuckey. Or any of these other women who have me blocked on X. I've never interacted with that woman and I'm blocked. So I don't know what I would have said or maybe what you would have caught there. And beyond that, Something else going back to and I'm trying to not avoid it, but try to stay away from it because it is so saturated. But this did catch my attention. Apparently, Tyler Robinson's boyfriend is missing. So I have an article from the Conservative Brief I have not read or looked into. I've seen the reports of that, but seeing that Kevin Sorbo had posted it today, like a couple hours ago, makes me think that he's been missing now for some time. So we can look into that. Oh, what's up, Sock? Sock is in here for the first time in Lord knows how long. He says, war with an asteroid. No, NASA is going to declare war with an asteroid. I can't remember the term of it. It's like 3 ATLI something. It's basically something that they saw like a while ago, and it's coming towards this galaxy extremely fast. But it's just like it's a small snippet. I've just been hearing reports of it. I'm sure Mr. Aston Forbes will cover it, the guy who constantly covers over what's the word? The MH370 flight that disappeared? 3L Atlas. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was confused. Yes. I was confused when everybody was saying the name. It was just coincidence. I appreciate it. And you're totally fine, Sock. If everybody who doesn't know, Sock has been here since I've had like less than 1,000 subscribers. He's like one of the first people who was always in chat. So everybody say thank you, Sock, and definitely take your time taking care of what you need to, brother. Just appreciate you seeing you in here. So let's go to the first thing because the Hitler stash is just blowing me away. So we have this clip here from Kaiser Rev, I believe, is who I grabbed it from. Yeah, Kaiser Rev. And I don't know what the backstory is. Again, I have no idea. So we're going to all be listening to this for the first time. If you've not seen it, I will definitely be listening to this for the first time. But from Kaiser Rev, we really live in the best timeline. Here's how Alex Jones ended up with a Hitler mustache.
So I don't know. Maybe I should, for a while, just as a social experiment, keep the mustache. What's everybody think? I kind of like my goatee beard. You know, I've been just kind of experimenting. Everybody asked what that look was I had before. Who's the Marvel comic guy that has the knives that comes out of his hand? Like a wolf or Wolverine, yeah. So my hair is gray all right here and still brown here. So I figured I'd shave down from where it was brown, white. Remember, I did that for a while, and it had that white and then into brown. People kind of thought that was interesting style. That was just me shaving, and no, let's see what that looks like. And this morning,
I do have to say, once he got rid of the what do they call it, the jowls? I should know this, honestly. Once he got rid of like that big white section, that's when everybody was like, did he get replaced with a clone? Because once he got rid of that white out of his beard and it got the goatee, it made his face look more pronounced, while also making him look a lot younger at the same time. So it's no wonder people think he's and to be quite fair, as a former personal trainer, that it makes him look a lot thinner, makes his face look a lot thinner. But just a side note there.
Again, I was about 5:30. I had complaints that my beard is prickly. And then I should, condition it, which I never do. So I'm conditioning it in the shower and all the rest of it. And then I'm going to trim it. And I get the clipper out. And I'm zzz, and Mushu, the ragdoll cat, jumps up in between me, give me a kiss, hits it, and he goes, "Wah," right down. I was like, oh my God. So I go, well, I got to cut my beard off. So I cut the beard off. I'm going to go with a mustache. And again, I was going to go hike.
I don't believe him for 1 second. The dude got excited. He got excited because like YouTube was like, hey man, we're going to let you come back. Then by the time he woke up after he got the news, he was like, it's game time. He said, I'm done playing around.
My workout partner, Sean Johnson, he saw it, started laughing. He said, he couldn't quit laughing. And I go, what? And he goes, dude, you look like a pedo. It's ridiculous. He goes, you got to cut that off. He goes, here, let's call my
Ozempic Fear Jones
fiance up and see what she thinks. So he FaceTimes her. She goes, yeah, you lose it. And I said, all right, well, because we were going to hike around my house today. There's a big green belt there. I said, let me go in the bathroom. He goes, wait, don't. Go Hitler. At least let me see it. It'd be a great stunt as a joke. Started thinking, I was like, yeah, like a social experiment. Maybe just do it for a few days. And I go trim it, walk back out of the bathroom. He goes, damn no, we got to take this stash back. Call it the Jones now. This is a good looking mustache. He goes, you ought to keep that. So
that's actually, we gotta take that and run with it. What do you mean, Hitler? What are you talking about, dude? Like, I love Alex Jones, even though he's gonna have like one day. I can't imagine what happens when he takes it all off. How young he's gonna look. But that is funny, him kind of giving it his story here. And it's funny because a similar thing happened to me not too long ago, actually, when I was shaving. Hey, it got eliminated off my face. For those who might be new here, I used to have like a much bigger beard, and I for one, I'm going to be honest, like I'm a white guy, dude, so I'm not very familiar with, and I know people might be mad at me, going to contest that. I'm white, but I have very like thick facial hair, and like it gives me problems. And I had that happen to me once where like I went a little bit too much, and it was irritating me. Next thing you know, have inches of facial hair like in my sink. I'd like to be able to get back to it, to be honest, but it's probably gonna make me look fat. I can't do the Hitler, man. My mustache isn't strong enough. It's just not. Like I have a super weak mustache. It's actually like, and that might be the biggest leading evidence that I'm not white. Because my mustache is so weak. That's kind of funny. And then that this is I think a great response to being banned by YouTube. It kind of sends all of the symbology out there. I think that's pretty cool. I enjoy that aspect of that element. And to move off of that though, it's a great moment there. We'll come back to Alex a little bit for some of the war coverage there, because he's got a good clip from I believe the NATO. Maybe it's the EU. It might be from the EU. We'll get into it. The asteroid though, however, this is coming from Polymarket actually. So I'll make this bigger actually so everybody can see it. But it is from Polymarket. Breaking: NASA considering nuking a city-killing asteroid on possible collision path with the moon. And what's funny is supposedly it's going to be coming in October, which, I mean, it's right around the corner. At least that was like the last thing that I'd seen from it. It's coming in October. So this is kind of scary because I knew that they had said it's going to be close enough that you can see. I didn't realize it was going to be close enough that it was going to take the moon out. But I'm sure, these are probably all some like wild guesses, I would imagine, especially because, how much can you really trust NASA since we never landed on the moon? But that's another, story for another day. So supposedly that's what they're doing. And at the same time, there were a lot of other tests that were done recently that is kind of concerning. But I think those kind of go along the path of war, not the path of like they're pulling out all the stops to to nuke something out in space, to be honest with you. So let's get to that. We're going to go to the war here. And so we'll start with the first thing. This is kind of what opened my eyes into it. So I'm unsure if they're related, but I'm going to tell you what, it damn really seems like they are. And forgive me for cursing. I'm just getting so bad with that. I feel like they definitely are, especially because we've really had nothing in terms of extreme escalation in the Russia-Ukrainian conflict until seemingly today. And so to have Pete come out with this announcement, or it be reported from Pete around like, what was it, like 11 in the morning or 10 in the morning today, and then we get all this Ukrainian EU stuff later on, it leads me to think, at least tangentially, it probably is, some level of connected. At least that's what you would think. Thank you for the super chat. Lord of the Re, appreciate that very much. He says, not going to lie, Alex is pulling it off. Bravo. Yeah, he is. I got no problems with that. And that's probably the fear for most guys. It's like they might want to do it, but the question is, can you pull it off? Do you have the face for it, or are you just going to look, dumb? So going to the possibility of war, we have this here. And this is from X Alerts. Now I'll make this a bit smaller, actually. Now it's way too big. But this is kind of the report here. So Hegseth is from WAPO, I believe. Yeah, the Washington Post. Exclusive: Hegseth orders rare urgent meeting of hundreds of generals and admirals. Now, it wasn't really the particular headline that kind of got me, because I know they kind of embellished this stuff a lot to kind of keep the tensions high. It was the Washington correspondent, which it's not here, not listed here, but there was a Washington correspondent, or a Pentagon security official correspondent, something along those lines. Who knows? It's probably the guy who just sells, snow cones outside the front door. He said he'd never seen anything like that in 30 years. And his comment afterwards, beyond that, was, I think maybe we're going to war, or I think we're going to war, something to that effect. So I think all the tensions are high. and there's a lot of distractions. We have here, on the American side of things, have obviously been pretty heavily distracted simply because of all the dramatic interfactional kind of beef between the left and the right, Charlie Kirk, all of the factional infighting even between those two groups and all the stuff going on from there. But it is concerning. And where to go from here? Obviously, it's, what could you possibly do if, you're faced with this war? I do think it is something to be concerning of. And one thing I would add on top of that too, and maybe MAGA is just entirely dead. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to much of the MAGA level of politics. All of the small little peripheral things that Donald Trump does that they clap like little retarded seals for. I've been out of that for a while, so maybe there has been some more stuff being done there. But this is the time when you hold our administration accountable. This is when, no new wars hopefully meant something. But from the way I see it, the no new wars, the anti-war party or element of the faction has already left. And it's very similar to 2008, very, very, very similar, where, Obama becomes Obama, and then in a matter of like months, when he's drone striking literally every country in the Middle East, where were all those people holding picket signs screaming for, forever wars and foreign entanglement, Middle East warfare? They're gone. They disappeared. It seems like the same thing happened here, but maybe this might be a push come to shove situation, and there's nothing we can really do about it. But it should be held in a way of our administration better do everything in their power to prevent it, keep us from being involved, and figure out the best path forward, diplomatically. That way we don't have any kind of extreme warlike conflict. So from this, though, this is actually the next level of it. And so the next extending element is the update from that. So hours later, it's about 2 hours later, it seems, Alex Jones writing here, breaking World War III update. Russia's foreign minister Lavrov declares NATO and EU are now at war with Moscow. NATO and the EU through Ukraine have declared war on Russia and are directly participating in it. So forgive me, we will watch a good bit of this beginning portion here. But before I do, probably some of the people in the chat probably already pointed this out too, and forgive me for actually already forgetting it. One element that I didn't cover much yesterday, but is actually very prominent today, very meaningful today, is the fact that also the Iranian tensions have been rising as well. And they've been rising purely in the aspect of, I believe it was E3 had basically reneged on their promise to Iran, which was these snapback sanctions being delayed or not going into effect as long as they negotiated with it's like the JCPOA, basically the nuclear program that determines how enriched your uranium can be. They have different rules for different countries. I believe Japan is like one of the few that can go beyond like 3.75%. And if you remember from when we were covering the Iran stuff, they were supposedly the reports were anywhere from like 60 to 80% of enriched uranium, but that wasn't the fear. The fear was ultimately how quickly they could go from 60 to fully enriching it to nuclear levels. And I could be getting some of those numbers wrong, but that's where a lot of the tensions were coming from, and ultimately why our casus belli for striking them as the United States was because we wanted to prevent them from doing that, right? Holding our end of the bargain there. So it is kind of curious. It's basically the article that I had read had ended with, what is Iran expected to do? Like, what is the expectation that Iran is supposed to do? Is Iran supposed to seriously be dogged walk in public for the rest of the world to see by all of these powers and then basically put back into the same situation? It's one of those things that it's rough, and it makes you again think this is exactly what the elite does. This is the fifth element, if you will, in the room, right? This is the fourth branch of government, all of that. But going back to this video here, this is going to be Alex covering the beginning of the admission of war here.
Russia's foreign minister Lavrov just came out and said what the facts are. Russia declares NATO and EU are now at war with Moscow in chilling escalation.
Руками которой НАТО и Евросоюз объявили уже моей стране настоящую войну и прямо в ней участвуют. В этом же...
Ukraine doesn't have the big fat missiles dictators love to show off in parades, but we do have drones that can fly up to 2,000-3,000 kilometers. We had no choice but to build them to protect our right to life. Control over the sea used to depend on having a big navy. Ukraine doesn't have a big fleet, but we succeeded. In the Black Sea, we pushed what's left of the Russian Navy into remote base. And we did it with sea drones. That's how we protect our ports and maritime trade routes, because Russia has left us no other choice. And our spiderweb operation, when cheap drones destroyed or damaged dozens of expensive Russian strategic bombers.
Yeah, I really don't want to hear Zelensky bitch about what's going on. Let's see your Alex take here.
He's a man of peace. NATO started it. They did it all. They've bragged about it. And now Hegseth and all of them are meeting to just go barreling into this absolutely, completely, and totally insane.
Yeah, so that seems to be it. I'm sure you can go in a lot more detail here, but that is basically it, right? We're having admissions. They're having all these emergency meetings. And it seems that we're not getting much in terms of coverage in the West, outside of obviously Alex Jones. Let me move off of this, actually. The reason why it seems a little bit alarming is because there was a couple other things that I did pick up. So for one of them, let me actually put back on the screen. This is from Conflict Radar. The U.S. conducted a 7,500-mile thermonuclear weapon test. And then in addition to that, and apparently this was the missile. That's this top comment. Interesting. And then beyond that, though, apparently there was a Boeing E-3 Sentry that was scrambled from Anchorage, Alaska, and that is from IL Red Alert. Not too familiar with who that is, but they do have a decent-sized following. I guess I'll take them at their word. Knuckler. Yeah, I like that. No, this one. Knuckler. I like that. That's funny. Just because everyone's saying it, I'm just going to start saying retarded words now. All right, so incoming Knuckler War, World War III with a bunch of knucks. And that just seems to be the main story of the day, and I apologize for not having too much extra in detail for you, but that seems to be the rising tension. What I would highlight, though, is the fact that it seems there's not much coverage of it on the West, so maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they are purposely trying to hold back, like we know. Mockingbird's been around for a long time, but even with that, there is a lot of intelligence agencies involved, a lot of these mainstream publications. So take that for what it is. I'm not trying to have a Celsius spritz ad playing. It's funny. I didn't even know they make that stuff, dude. It's every day there's something new. Yeah, Nuka, please. It's funny. Yeah, my Nukas. Covering and moving off of there, yeah, I'll be quick. There was some more of this gay AIDS drama. And with this gay AIDS drama, what we have is a black man and a whore. Even joking. That's what we have. So this is from Kai Schwimmer. And if you guys don't follow him, definitely do. I actually like Kai quite a bit. I've been trying to catch a lot more of his stuff. He's got some good, what's the word? He's got some good takes. But he writes, he says, well, I think we ought to probably be a bit more graceful sometimes in order to help others come to Christ. It is also the case that only a couple months ago, Emily was picking fights with Sarah Stock for getting engaged and hasn't seemed to apologize for prior comments at all. And this is basically quoting, I've had enough of this Emily Suits America slander, and again, it's just, there's a push of this, this class of influencer. Misfit Patriot probably falls into there too. Everything about what they do, the way that they're kind of connected, they repost each other, they like their own likes. It is a new form of an in-group. The limited hangout over here, right? Yeah, drinking that Gatorade. And I'm not even trying to be rude. I mean, like, this woman, I've heard some very bad things about this woman, and I'm not here to, sit here and let's explore all the bad, sexual stuff that she did. I don't care. The end point, though, is like, the more that you kind of double down on this and you do start fights seemingly for no reason with people like Sarah Stock because she's getting married And sure, you can have your own takes or whatever, but ultimately the thing is like she makes an enemy of herself. I don't have it takes about Emily Says America because like, I read something from influenceable.com and they said, here's 7 cents to post this. I read it because I heard words come out of her mouth and I said, Lord, God, have mercy on my soul. Whatever it takes, make it stop. That's my reaction to that. And then Xavier DeRousseau is just like, you can't. You can't. And people probably don't know who it is. Yeah, it's a shock because I have no idea who this bitch is. This is one of the new people who's been getting pushed quite a lot. And she has a little bit of ties to, I believe it's PragerU. I'm positive it's PragerU, but it's also Blaze TV, if I remember correctly. The reason why it's a bit concerning is because she was in the first round, along with her, Xavier DeRousseau. There's a few other black guys, I think Cam Higbee, and there's a couple other influencers that was a part of this major push with, I think it's like to the tune of $50 million by Israel to pay American influencers to come and touch the wall so they can, better push back against the, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories online. Like that's, and there you go. There you have it. That's seemingly what's going on there with them. So it's just concerning because here they are. They keep appearing, and so this is an element of the conservative side. And they are two of these faux conservatives. They basically are, forgive me, essentially just establishment branches, arms of establishment wings, or probably more accurately, just donor arms. They are influencers attached to donors. That's basically what they are. They get paid, they go, you pay them, they shout, you pay them, they yell, you pay them, they repost. That's who they are. And ultimately, I'm going to be honest with you, these people are the reasons why I think there do need to be laws that are put on the books, which is if you are being paid to post or push sentiment that needs to be disclosed. Again, the same way that it's easy for people to get, attacked. You see it all the time. Community notes on this post that goes viral on X because it didn't properly disclose it was, a paid promotion from like Stake or one of these other gambling sites. Why would we not do the same thing for paid sentiment? In fact, I care less that Stake paid for this random video I saw on my feed. I care more about knowing who's pushing foreign sentiment and paid sentiment in the influencer economy. Lord have mercy. And that's been something I've been, pretty vocal about for some time. And even if that means like I have to put like, $50, I got paid by, $50 from Zeb Boykin to promote Celsius or something, something along those lines. Like, I don't care. If you're getting paid, you got to like at least have some level of transparency with it. Maybe that's a pipe dream, but I think it's something to push for. But just to give an update on that. And then you have Peter Thiel, and this is the Antichrist thing. Now, this kind of floated in the ether, if you will, a few weeks ago because it had been announced directly. It had to been like literally a couple weeks after he had this sit down with, I think it was like somebody from BBC News, but the guy was basically pressing him on why do people call you the Antichrist all the time, or how does it feel when you are you're the first name that pops up and people think about Antichrist? And he has like a weird reaction. He like smirks. He's like, it's like he's kind of happy about it. He's enjoying it. Well, then it came about a week or two out removed after there. Timeline could be a little bit wrong, but a little bit removed from there is when he comes out and says, oh, better yet, I'm going to have a 4-part series on the Antichrist. And then this is the latest news here from AF Post. The co-owner of AI firm Palantir, Mr. Peter Thiel, has argued in that same series of lectures that regulating AI will lead to the rise of the Antichrist. Thiel speculates that regulating technology will empower a peace and safety regime. And I'm sure there's a lot of you who are familiar with the actual text there in Revelation as it talks about the coming of the Antichrist. Well, I think it's in Revelation, can be wrong. But it does allude to this peace and safety. It does allude to this element of that being the umbrella or the Trojan horse, if you will, that ushers in this. I see my number one hate watcher has once again left the chat. Nice to see you, Bob. Nice to see you, Bob. Have a good night, man. So what do you take from that, right? It seems like he's playing both sides of it. He's kind of going, well, it's kind of completely necessary, but on the other way, he's like, well, maybe we shouldn't because, it does seem like it kind of walks hand in hand with these biblical texts. Guy is very, 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 very slimy. It's John. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. It's let me actually pull that up because I want to have that verse on screen. It's the peace and safety. I know I'm showing how my or it's First Thessalonians. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, well, everybody, we were all wrong. But thank you. No, John does have good mention of that. But First Thessalonians 5:3. I just want to get it verbatim. I don't want to read it from AI. Just give it to me. This is what it says here. This is from Paul, and this is what he writes. While people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly, as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. So there is some of these mentions here of, peace and safety having these connections to the Antichrist, or rather more so maybe just end times in general. And so when you do see that and you think about again, well, what is the number one way that the majority of our government pushes through any kind of things, right? Whether it's like the Patriot Act or whether it's, any kind of legislation like hate speech or whatever, which Pam Bondi was going to probably be pushing here soon. The argument, and this is actually a great argument. I think this was from, I can't remember if this is from Ron Oons or Andrew Anglin, who I got this from. And so take that with a grain of salt. But regardless, it was House who had sent it to me. But the argument was very compelling, which was basically that when Pam Bondi's pushing for these hate speech laws and Donald Trump is kind of signing on for them directly in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, they're basically arguing that if hate speech wasn't allowed, Charlie may still be with us, thus implying that if hate speech is outlawed, the world would be a safer place. Thus, you keep going, the implication there is that hate speech is violent. And it's like, no, that's not the way it is. But the same thing's true of the Patriot Act and many of these other kind of, government pushes and policy is in that same element. It is, and largely they use a crisis because that's when people's emotions are hot. There's an elevated level of consciousness from a lot of people. And they go, hey, for your peace and safety, 15 days to slow the spread. This is the very commonly used element. And so I think for most people, a strong thing you can use, kind of like Occam's razor, but just as it's applied to the government, is this policy attached with any element of for my peace and safety? If it is, that's probably when you're going to have to look at it with a different purview, look at it with a different element. Think about what is being taken away from you, because ultimately that is what's happening. They say for safety and for everyone else to be healthy, this is why we have to limit some of your rights so that it's better for everyone to be involved here. And that's when you got to think, okay, something's going on here. More than likely, something's going on here. It's not to say that every grandma who says, oh, well, we want to be safe, has some nefarious kind of, ulterior motive. It's just to say that's typical kind of rhetoric that you will hear from the government if that is happening. Let's see what's going on. Somebody wants me to shave. Is that what somebody said? I see that. Agree, shouldn't make. Let me find that comment. I could never be able to do that. Sorry, I was trying to figure if I was making sense or not. Okay, beyond there though, we do have Amy Dangerfield giving a glowing review, same thing of New York Times, a puff piece, if you will, a puff clip, if you will. And so we'll go ahead and pull that over here. Let me grab this actually. From Amy Dangerfield now, I think it's Breaking Points. Am I right? No, it's not. Okay, I have no idea what this is. Apparently I'm just absolutely retarded. But this is the clip. We don't have to watch the whole thing. It is long. We'll just get the bulk of it there in the beginning. But it's from Amy Dangerfield, and I guess this guy's name is Connor Walcott. I have no idea who that is. Looks like Tim Pool with hair. And that's the Valuetainment logos. I'm assuming that they're connected, and it says download Connect. So, of course, they're probably connected, to be honest, which is very funny. But here it is. Let's rip it.
Amy, you guys are...
Is my name on there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right-wing YouTuber Amy Dangerfield.
Let's go.
You made it.
I made it.
Gone are the days of quasi-libertarian e-girl. You are now fully right-wing YouTuber. And, while we're discussing Nick Fuentes, who you got to meet the other day, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute.
We already met. That's we had met a long time ago in 2023.
A long time ago. Like, is she Australian?
Before we'd even met, I had a phone conversation with him that I actually forgot about while I was on a stream with Sneaker and Zerka. Okay, so
What is this accent? Does anybody know what this accent is? Is that Australian? I mean, I'm more than willing okay with being wrong. Just like, what is this? What is this accent? I wasn't expecting that. And Amy Dangerfield is such a fake name too. Like, what is her real name?
while I have disagreed with some of his messaging, I have always found him to be a very competent.
Hold on. What is Tix talking shit about me for? What's this? Tix, when making grandma sweaters, is it better to knit or crochet? What is this? I don't know. I don't have an answer. Probably knit, I would imagine. Probably knit. I think crochet is a bit more like specific to quilting. And what was this other one from Connecting Rabbi Horse? Mutton chops and ate off Hitler's stash for a week. Man. I've thought about doing the mutton chops. I really have. I've thought about literally just getting rid of all of this and going the full Wolverine, like 1850s London Bulldog style. Like I have thought about doing that before. Trust me. Man, I don't know if I want to do it. Well, I'll think about it. But we're going back to Mrs. Aussie here. I'll pull back a little bit.
Agreed with some of his messaging. I have always found him to be a very competent person who, like, his delivery is just so incredible and he's well researched. Maybe you don't like the direction his research goes in or how he is necessarily articulating it, because sometimes he's a little bit bombastic, a little bit funny, a little bit controversial in his delivery. Okay. But that is a voice that has been speaking out about some controversial topics for so long. Literally an individual who was deplatformed, debanked, literally had the whole world up against him. And nowadays, it's totally fine to talk about some of the topics that he was in fact banned for in the first place. In fact, it's kind of like the cool thing to do, right?
Hold on. How many Australian people do we have in conservative politics now? How many? Listen, I think one's okay. Okay, Elijah Schaefer's all right. The rest got to go. Listen, this is just like Israel. You can't, no dual loyalty. I need to be seeing full-on pledges, burning Australian flags. We're never going back. We're one of us. Said Sydney's not. No. Listen, I think Sydney Watson, if she was still some level of prominent and, you know, not kind of completely, totally insanely retarded, I would make hit pieces. I would spend hours behind this desk designing hit pieces on Sydney Watson, because I cannot stand that feminist, covert feminist, whatever you would call it. She's just an outright feminist, dude. I cannot stand how she operates. Going back
as we saw with so many people jumping to conclusions and conspiracies about who assassinated Charlie Kirk, okay? People are talking about this in the mainstream. This is public discourse now, but Nick Fuentes is one of the people, well-researched people, who really kicked off this conversation, you know, and he did it before it was accepted, before it was mainstream, before it was cool, okay? And for that reason, I have so much respect for him. And I said as much when I saw him again.
Well, that kind of does it. That's basically my daily limit for listening to women. So my wife will have to wait till tomorrow if she wants to tell me anything. And that's basically it. That's basically it, man. It's a glowing review, and it seems like we're getting a lot of that. What I would say in addition to this is kind of going hand in hand with a lot of what we're seeing. I did see House's posting earlier. I will go to that in 1 second here. But part of this is actually kind of hand in hand confirming a lot of things for people, especially because when Nick gave his "it wasn't Israel" position on the recent events, that sent everybody into a frenzy. Now, truth be told, he did kind of push down and decry anyone thinking otherwise pretty harshly. So I can understand some of the reactions to it. But this, along with the YouTube, along with some of the collabs, along with the recession of censorship, in my opinion, I think have all been confirming biases for a lot of people who already think that he is gotten the call or has in some way been involved or pulled into the "you're one of us" crowd. And I got to say, when you start seeing a lot of this, it does, on some level, not make me think otherwise, but I think it does it puts more barriers in front of defending that kind of argument, which is a pretty hard argument to make. The most banned man in the world gets his YouTube channel back, and I thought it was funny because at the time, I had seen Milo Yiannopoulos had posted a screenshot because he tried to enter in the pilot program. They turned him down immediately. So for a few hours, Milo Yiannopoulos was more banned than Nick Fuentes. Now, how now true is that? Maybe Milo made up a fake screenshot. He probably did. The guy's scum. But that's that. And so there you go. So that still is kind of underlining a lot of this, and I'm taking heat from both camps now. I'm taking heat from Nick's side. I'm taking heat from the Israel did it side. And I'm just going to sit here and keep on keeping on by saying, I don't know. I've not seen enough. I'm unwilling to make an assumptive claim until I know more. And so I just, and if that bothers people, then so be it. I'm unwilling to make any kind of claim ultimately until we know for sure, or not until we know for sure, but until there's at least a lot more definitive evidence placed in front of me. I'm just going to avoid it altogether because it's going to get toxic. And want to visit something that House put in here earlier, because I did catch that on the timeline from House, something to do with James Comey. It looks like he is actually going to be facing charges. I'm going to try to find this. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted and charged with making false statements to Congress. So he has been charged. Let's find that actually. James Comey. This is beautiful. Which is crazy because I believe Comey is the same guy who ultimately did not. What's the word? He posted like the 8647. I believe that was James Comey, along with like the Krasenstein brothers and a few other people. I don't know if he faced anything of that. So let's go here. Greg Price, actually, as much as I think he's pretty mainstream Republican, Greg Price typically does a lot of good work. He's done solid work too with like the Kyle Rittenhouse investigation as well too. I think even some of Greg Price's tweets were brought into the not the investigation but the trial. So this is Greg Price. He says from the left's argument, I'm assuming, is arguing that James Comey telling, oh no, this is what's happening on the left here. James Comey telling Congress in September 2020 that the Thiel dossier was not used in the 2016 intelligence community assessment on the Russia hoax. And then on the right, Tulsi Gabbard's release from July showed that the Thiel dossier was directly cited and that Obama intel officials overruled senior intel officials who told them it was garbage. And what's funny with this too is I believe the reason why this even started to get uncovered was actually unrelated. It was being uncovered because when Tulsi Gabbard had come out with the intelligence community assessment that was in direct opposition to what Trump was when we were right before we had bombed Iran, I believe that's when people started digging into all the previous IC assessments, and that probably is where they found the disparity between the story that James Comey was telling and what Tulsi Gabbard had released there. So let's take a listen to this clip here. It's not too long. Let's let it rip.
Not been verified?
I don't know whether it was Brennan. I remember being told that the group's view was it was significant enough and consistent enough with other intelligence that it ought to be included, but it wasn't sufficiently corroborated to be in the body of the intelligence community assessment. So they put a brief summary of it in an annex.
Not been verified?
Oh, you're dying. So there it is. He lied. Let's hope he goes to jail. Let's hope he goes to prison for a long time. And this right here is similar documents from what I had seen from Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's release from July. So that makes sense. And that's right when she went out when the Iranian conflict, what do they call it, 12-day war? I was trying to remember what they were calling that, to be honest with you. But that makes sense then. So good. He needs to go to prison. He needs to go to jail for a very, 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 very long time. And the same guy who did the 8647. Going back to one of the other things that I had here, though, outside the breaking news here. This is the one from Nick Sortor. So, obstruction of justice and making false statements per ABC. Perp walk him on live TV. Cool. I'll take it. That's what we want from the Trump administration. That's what we've been wanting from the Trump administration, actually. So that is a good praise. And I have to make sure I do give my praise because I'm very vocally, adamantly opposed to a lot of what the administration does, simply because I don't think they do enough. Thank you for doing something. Now, if this doesn't result in him actually being put behind bars, we go back to square one, which is it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of dancing and jigging, a lot of song and dance, very little action. And so I'll praise it for now. Let's see how far we get, right? Let's see how far it goes. Hopefully it does get eliminated. But no. And then we have Tyler Robinson's boyfriend is missing. So I'd said this at the beginning, but this kind of blew me away, which is from Kevin Sorbo. Tyler Robinson's supposed boyfriend is gone. Now, I saw rumors and reports of this days ago, but I didn't look into it because I was like, it was in the midst of like the trap door. It's amidst the camera gun. It's amidst, they're flying CIA planes and they shot him from, 10,000 feet up in the air. I assume this is probably in the line of that. But when I saw it the next couple of days and then today on top of it, I was like, okay, there's something here. Let's go through this. This is from the Conservative Brief. It's from John Daughtry from like 3 hours ago. And truth be told, I've not seen that mugshot photo of Tyler Robinson yet. Maybe that's new. It was released last couple of days, possibly. My gosh, dude, this page is loaded with ads. Like they're like going to come off the screen. Okay. All right. I need to get a new ad blocker on here. Yell at me in the comments. That's fine. As the boyfriend of Charlie Kirk's alleged killer has left the Utah condominium he once shared with the accused gunman, and neighbors say he's not returned. Lance Twiggs, 22 years old, was taken in for questioning after police searched the 3-bedroom St. George property shared with Tyler. Residents said Twiggs, Residents said Twiggs, a part-time plumber, has not been seen at the condo since. His car remains parked outside with work equipment left inside. Mail and packages have accumulated at the doorstep, and lights in the upstairs room have reportedly been on for more than a week. That's crazy. The home is owned by Twiggs' family, who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ and of Latter-day Saints, the Daily Mail reported. If he ever comes back, it will be in a body bag, one neighbor said. That's not a threat. I'm just saying that there are so many people who want a piece of him, he'd be mad to show his face in public again. This was a generational event. That, I guess, but I don't think so. Right? Like, do any of you guys feel any type of way about, the trans boyfriend who's wearing cat ears in the corner who had no idea what's going on? I don't. Like, I just think it's sad. Like, I wish he wouldn't be that way, but like, I don't think there's any kind of ill will towards him. Probably from more the adamantly angry about it. But they go on to say that he wasn't charged in connection with the September 10th shooting. But the speculation has swirled about whether Twiggs knew of the plot. No evidence has emerged linking him to the crime. And that's kind of what you got from the text messages, was this exoneration, this Hollywood exoneration, basically, of Tyler Robinson saying, and I know you had nothing to do with it, and I know you never knew where I placed that specific round in the cartridge at 11:03 p.m., and this is also part of the reason why people think that it's a bit fake, and maybe the FBI wrote a little bit of these. But to go on there, authorities have described Twiggs, who is transitioning from male to female, as a cooperating human. Just why? They just use some of the weirdest language, man. But anyways, an FBI source said that Twiggs qualifies as a significant and essential witness in the case, and could be eligible for federal witness protection. The source did not confirm whether Twiggs had accepted such protection, and I'm not sure if they can. If he has accepted it, I don't know if they're allowed to say. I think that's like one of the things that they even gets protected from. The media kind of gets, what do they call that? They get choked out with a, there's a civic term for that, gag order. They get like a gag order, essentially. So Twiggs' parents, 49, so his dad is 49 years old and he's an insurance broker. His mom is Amy, who's 50 years old, and she's a former college gymnast, yeah. They live about 5 miles away, but have not commented publicly on their kids' whereabouts. Interesting. They probably want nothing to do with them, to be honest. For this, but also probably for his transition too. So there's probably two elements that they want nothing to do with him now. And Tyler is the son of Jerry Twiggs, so his grandpa, a well-known pediatrician who owns multiple properties in the St. George area. Interesting. So do we know anything, though? So let's go down here. Officers, this is when the officers were with Twiggs. They seated Twiggs on the ground while dogs searched the unit for explosives before FBI carried out a full search of the Hills complex residence. He's wearing white t-shirt and pants. I don't think there's any update. I think they're just talking about the parents have no idea. Here's a text message exchange. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Neighbors had said that Robinson had lived with Twiggs for the past 3 years. Man, forgive me. A third roommate later moved out of the upscale complex, which includes a pool, hot tub, and gym. Leaving, Robinson and Twiggs would enter into a romantic relationship and were seen together frequently. Okay, so that's the story. I don't know if there's any more information beyond that, but I think that does kind of open up a little bit to that's odd. That's kind of curious, right? And I say that in line with the fact of, let me say it by this. I think the memorial service that they did for Charlie Kirk was a big WWE, mega church kind of performative. I think it was shameless. I actually probably would go as far as where Nick is at. I think a lot of it was essentially used to leverage his death for political gain. Did I expect any better? Kind of. I hoped. Maybe I should stop hoping for the best in people. But in addition to that, though, what you get, though, is her basically saying, I forgive him. And you would only really forgive somebody if you were adamantly sure that they had done something, or forgive them because you knew they had did it, or you were aware that they had done something. And this kind of circumvents the American ideal of what, innocent until proven guilty. So I didn't like that aspect of it, because what is undermining everything, what is undermining people so willingly throwing themselves at the memorial service, so willingly jumping in on all of the revival, is the fact that no one's buying what they're being sold. And so when you have that major barrier there, it's like, of course. And so and it adds to this kind of tension there where you have all this performance going on, no one's getting any answers, and then 3 days after the memorial, or how many days, 4 or 5 days now, they can't find the boyfriend and more holes are appearing. And it still feels like we haven't been given any kind of definitive answer on anything that would really kind of clear some of this up. It begins to really start grinding people's gears. And when you feel like the news cycle is beginning to move away from this, you're going like, bro, hold on. Like, how about we get a certified answer here before we start, having war with Ukraine and Russia? But that is simply how the news cycle works. And ultimately, we are at the behest of it. Unless we do something, crazy or big, and the news cycle kind of shocks it into our direction. But, just outline that there. And with that, though, forgive me, I think I'm like losing my voice or something. This is what I was saying earlier. So I'm not going to even attempt to say this, but they have a great Telegram. I'll attempt to say it. They deserve that much. Rerum Novarum. Intel, breaking news, and alerts. They have a fantastic Telegram. I would encourage all of my followers to get a hold of them as well there too, and follow them there. That's where I get a lot of this kind of geopolitical stuff here too. But they write that breaking Poland has urged its citizens to leave Belarus immediately by all means necessary due to the risk of unforeseen circumstances. At the same time, I saw one as well. I mean, we can probably just run through their timeline here. We have a lot of these. And let's see all the action going on. And look how close all of these alerts are. That was from 6 minutes ago, 20-some minutes ago. We have the airspace over Aalborg Airport has been reopened. The local police thought they had seen a drone in the air. However, that was not the case. And so that was apparently in Denmark. You can just see it here in the Danish Prime Minister with France, drones unidentified. So it looks like there clearly is activity over there in Europe. And it's concerning, to say the least, especially for all of them. Now we're getting all of this. There was another one that I'd seen earlier. Wish I remember it, but it's basically like the Maldives or the Maldives, however you pronounce it. I'm not ever going to, concern myself with having to pronounce a foreign language. But there was stuff like that as well, telling them to evacuate, telling them to, be in certain areas. And so there's clearly a lot of this mobilization happening. So I think that becomes a bit of the fear. Is this really happening? Now, what I would say, on top of that, though, and what's kind of funny is nobody believes anything. It's like the foundation to the news cycle. It's the foundation to understanding politics, and understanding how people move in which direction. Maldives, thank you, brother. It's zero trust systems. I don't trust the government. Nobody really trusts the government. I don't think anybody does. And if they do, they're probably just lying for their own personal gain. Nobody trusts the government. That was like the first step. My grandfather didn't trust the government, but he would listen. He had hosts that he would listen to on Fox News or whatever he would listen to. My dad, as it gets to my dad doesn't trust the government and has begun to distrust mainstream media, right? It's like, can't trust any of these guys. We'll go to some kind of sources, and you see some of these like podcasters. Where we are is not only do we not trust the government, we don't trust mainstream media. We don't trust the next class even underneath that, which would be the kind of elite tier podcast network. When you have like Joe Rogan, Thiel, Tim Dillon, they're like the comedic side of it, but you also have like the Candace Owens, the Tucker Carlson, the Dave Smith, and that is in itself its own kind of little economy. That's its own kind of ring. And where we are, a lot of people don't even trust them. So we keep going down the line of how far do you have to break down and remove that kind of like brand name corporate ethos before people will begin to trust it. And that seems to be where people are going. Like they won't trust it unless they go to they hear it from some guy randomly, who's yelling in the street. Like that's more trustworthy than what they see on a screen. And for each having their own kind of reasons, but that's just, that's kind of where we are. And yeah, I know. I saw that comment. Pam Bondi ain't looking good. And truth be told, she's probably the one that's been getting a bunch of pressure because she's the one who's getting the calls to be fired. Same with Kash Patel, but I think she's been taking a lot more of the brunt of them. And, with being a woman, they don't handle that kind of social decrying the same way that men can kind of just basically, kind of let it bounce off of them. I did think it was funny, the Chrissy Gnome face thing from, what's it called? What is it called? South Park, where her face like falls off and it like comes like running. It like goes running towards people. Like, yeah, that's what I think of conservative women as well too. But that basically is as much as what I was able to kind of see. I'm not sure if you guys had anything you wanted to send me. I'll hang out here for a little bit longer. And again, apologies for not having the most prepared show today. I put the video out earlier. I got working on that early in the morning, and I tried a little bit of a different style. So if you've not checked that out, definitely check it out. I basically kind of went back to some of the older stuff I was doing, but brought it up to speed with the new kind of style and editing and production I've been doing. And hopefully you guys like it. I'm trying to move away from having, a lot of these like long form clips of other people. It's not like I'll cover them, but I want to get more of my actual opinion out there. That way, it doesn't come off as if I'm basically just parroting what other people are saying and start inserting myself into the fray there. We can do a quick roll here. I actually could probably visit my bookmarks too. I might have seen something earlier and forgot about it. If you're the kind of swimmer, we have this is another great photo of Alex Jones and his stash here. Yeah, I did see the Zeb went super long today. I saw he started super early. It just sucks for me because that's typically when I'm doing my video, and I would love to be able to watch, but my ability to stay focused when someone's talking or it's like, it's exciting. Next thing you know, I'm in the chat, 40 minutes have passed by and I'm still on like the first edit, in like the second minute of the video. So yeah, I do try to catch it when I can though. I did get this one. Vivek even came out in support of Nick Fuentes, which I thought was a little odd. And, this is kind of, to talk about that a little bit, these guys all deleted their tweets earlier. That's why there's screenshots here. I have this guys in my own screenshot folder. I caught his earlier. It's because when I tried to bookmark it, it wouldn't let me bookmark it. And I was like, I know what that is. I know why that's the case. But again, confirming their biases, right? So now if anything positive happens, like they've basically already in their heads decided and convicted Nick of taking the call. So anything that happens in that light, which would be, he has an appearance with, Patrick Bet-David, and because he doesn't call him, an Assyrian Iranian, and he needs to be deported directly after the show, they're like, oh, wow, Nick really changed. And it's like, or is this an element of like he is actually legitimately trying to clean himself up for a bit more of a strategic position if he were ever to plan anything meaningful in a political run or an event or a race. But it is what it is. I think people ultimately getting too emotional. And here's one thing too, is I've been noticing this a lot as well. Like a lot of the guys, not to say all the guys I follow, but a lot of the guys I do follow are starting to seriously argue like women. And to me, I'm kind of the person who likes to read into things. And so when I see some stuff like that, I guess the way I kind of take it, to be quite honest with you, is I lose a little bit of like respect for people when I can kind of catch that, that feminine kind of argumentation style, right? The kind of gaslighting or like those kind of techniques. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about because there's guys that do it and it's a lot more prominent online. I'm just like, like, it's just like, what do you do to prevent that kind of stuff? And one great example of that is Misfit Patriot. Like that is the only way that he argues. The only way. It is all completely just gaslighting. And to be quite fair, a lot of the Zionists do a lot of that similar stuff here. And I wish we wouldn't do it, but I say that not because it's a lot of our guys, but I am seeing some of our guys begin to kind of fall into that trap. And ultimately, I've always thought the best way to do it is not even acknowledge it. If you think someone's literally being that batshit retarded, it's like, just ignore them. He who engages with the fool, who is the fool, right? If you know they're a fool, just let it be. You can't heal stupid. Somebody I was going to go to something. Do I own a suit? Arsenal Anti. Yes, I do. I actually wore my suit when my appearance with outside the Overton with not John, Pine Sap. When I went on with outside the Overton with Pine Sap, I did wear a suit. Yeah, I wore my jet black. You really couldn't tell. It was my jet black suit. So because it was all jet black, you probably couldn't see it much, to be honest with you. Maybe I will start wearing some more suits on here. Is the white t-shirt like still not good enough? I'm getting attacked for I'm showing too much chest hair, and like now the white t-shirt might not be good enough. It's like, man, I'd like to be casual at least sometime. like to be a little bit casual, sometime. Maybe not though. The do-rag's here to stay though. The bandana, whatever you want to call it. It's here to stay. I'm bald, but I don't have to always be bald. Just messing. Guys, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to start doing more of these. These shorter ones probably aren't even going to be part of the Offensively Accurate series. I'll probably keep the actual structured episodes on the podcast. These more casual, reactive ones, probably just keep them here on YouTube. But I do appreciate you guys very much. Let me catch this. Dadsky said, I told my wife about the gays in your DMs. Visible state of disgust in the kitchen. Dude, you won't believe some of the names that man, you won't even believe it. I don't know what you want to tell you guys. I have them blocked, so I probably can't find it. But I'm not even joking you. The guy's username was like Ham Hawk, like Beefy Ham Hawk. Like I can't even remember what it was, but it was like, that is the gayest thing I've ever seen. And then I click on the message. Like I already had that thought, and then I clicked on the message, and then I was like, Lord have mercy. And then I realized that there was a button that says show more. And that's when I realized there was a lot more that I had not noticed until previously. And, it is funny. But with that though, I do appreciate you guys very much. The epileptic background, that's one thing I'm going to be spending some money on here soon. I want to get a better backdrop. I've been trying to think of that for a while. I've actually been making trips to you guys might not have them in your area. I don't know how widespread they are, but there's a place called Where You Been At, or Where You Been. And basically they do every day they have a different price. It's like $7 on one day. And as you go through the week, it gets cheaper and cheaper, but that means, it's more and more days people have had to rifle through stuff until they get to like one day, it's like Wednesday, and everything's like 25 cents or whatever. But one of the common things that ends up, that ends up at where you've been is things like lighting and like neon lights, all of that kind of more gimmicky stuff you can find there, which is perfect for backdrop. The only issue is I've went like 3 times, and every time I've went, it's like child swim gear, pizzeria topping materials. Like it's like nothing that I would actually want or would need or would be helpful. This thing that I actually have is what I've been using for the last few months. It's pretty cool. There's it's called like a Starry Night Sky thing is what it is. It's something along those lines, like a Starry Night Sky. Workhorse Fabrication said, just got here. What's the topic? I apologize, brother. You got here right at the end. This was just a shorter, casual one. If you want to, you can definitely catch the replay and scroll backwards. We covered. Let's give an end outro. What did we cover? Alex Jones, Hitler stash. Both him and Nick being reinstated and then thus banned in a short span on YouTube. NASA nuking an asteroid, possibly. Oh, that's what we didn't cover. Trump. We didn't cover Trump. Trump and his take on, what is it called? On the annexation of the West Bank. This actually happened shortly before I went live. I just caught it. Put it on screen here. This is from Eric Daughtry again. It says President Trump puts his foot down and says Israel is banned from annexing the West Bank. There's been enough. It is time to stop. This is from Aaron Rupar, of all people. Let's take a listen.
Did you promise leaders this week that you would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank? Is that something that you
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen.
Did you speak with Netanyahu about this directly?
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether I spoke to him or not, I did. But I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay?
Yeah, so what do you guys make of this? What do you guys make of this, right? What do you make of this? I don't know. Is it Trump the Zion Don? Is this him looking at the political climate and going, here's a valve release. Psh, there's some pressure. I don't know. Maybe he just went full bipolar. Maybe this is him in a moment of clarity when he's not off the the Biden cocktail. I don't know. I mean, this is kind of curious, and I don't really know. Yeah, exactly what Lord of the Rings said. I don't know how to feel about it either. I don't. It's curious because there is, again, just so much going on, and it's all roads lead to Israel. That seems to be what it is. And so it's hard to really kind of get a strong grasp of what this is. Is it positioning? Is it postulating? Or is this truly how it feels? It's performative. Yeah. And that's kind of what I feel. And nice to see Mr. Astea in here. Mr. Got a verified badge in here. Love the logo. And ultimately that's probably what it is. And it makes you think too, because I think, what was it verbatim that we got from, I don't think it was the gray zone. Who did we get that from? It was, he's fucking me. Let me look this up. Where did we get that from? Because I thought that was I don't know if that came from the Gray Zone article or not. No, from Wall Street Journal. That's right, because it came out like a day later. Or maybe a couple of days later. But that was hilarious, dude. Like that comes out. And that came out a couple of days after we had from Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone, which I think his reporting has largely been, a lot of it, not really debunked, but kind of shown to be not completely true either, is when he had let it be known that Trump was barking at people for anything to do with this, specifically that he barked at Charlie, basically barked him down about Charlie's personal and private takes about us not going to war. Ultimately, Charlie did support it publicly. But, what do you make of that? I don't know. Seems to be the political football of our time. It's kind of left a few other things, and now this is our political football. It's Israel. And at least it's explicit this time. It's not being hidden behind a bunch of, black masks. And it's really forever wars. It's really all these Muslims and 9/11 and the passport survived and steel and buildings fall at free fall speed, 9.8 meters per second squared, perfectly. Yeah. So that was it. The other stuff that we covered was the gay drama between all of the PragerU acolytes and the Blaze TV acolytes. Although Ledger Schaefer's pretty solid, but they're pretty gay and they're kind of building their own class of influencer. Just gotta watch out for them. Peter Thiel and the Antichrist has taken another chapter. Amy Dangerfield wants Nick badly. I don't even think I need to say anything else. And apparently Tyler Robinson's boyfriend is missing. So that's kind of what we covered today and reacted to. With that, though, I appreciate you guys greatly. I love you guys. Again, Christ is King. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what's the first thing that we need to be looking for as we pursue it throughout our days? It's God. Pursue God. Pursue first the kingdom of God. That is how we need to be orienting ourselves. I know I definitely do not do the best job possible, but I try to be the best example that I can be and try to improve every single day. So let that not be missed as well. And again, I want to reiterate too, prayers for Vadi Bacham. For all those who didn't catch that in the beginning, we did get word that Vadi Bacham has supposedly passed away. So prayers out to him, his ministry, his affiliates, his staff, his family, all of that. He was pretty solid for, especially for in the Black community as well. So with all that being said, Christ is King, guys. Throw Pam Bondi in jail, put her in a kitchen somewhere, deport Kash Patel, and man, maybe one day at a time, possibly soon, we will save this country. I appreciate you guys greatly. America first, America only. Let's get it. Take care, everybody. Have a good rest of your night. Peace out.